This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
To start with, let me, for the benefit of those who have not known or heard about Obi Asika, let me take a bit of his profile. I've done a bit of summary of it, just so that it doesn't take 15 minutes out of the 1 hour we have. Like I said, today's topic is the creative economy in Nigeria's next frontier. And my guest is Obi Asika. His profile, Obi Asika is acknowledged as one of the key African leaders in the cultural, creative, entertainment, and innovation sectors. He's a policy expert, thought leader, executive producer for film and TV, music and live events, and has over 30 years track record in this sector. Obi Asika has created several television shows and reality formats. He was executive producer for the first Big Brother Nigeria, The Apprentice Africa, Dragon's Den, Nigeria, Niger Sing Songs, to mention but a few. Obi Asika has been the principal advocate for the Nigerian soft power since 2010, a member of the board of trustees of the Nigerian Olympic movement and presently a judge on the Nigerian Idol. Asika is a born storyteller and has spent a lifetime producing content in multiple ways across multiple platforms. Let me stop there and go straight to Obi Asika. By the way, let me welcome you to the studio, Obi Asika.
Thank you so much.
How's your Sunday been so far?
We're looking forward to this.
But do I really need to introduce you, Obi Asika? Because where do you get your energy from? Let's start from that.
It comes from the genes. It's from an inquisitive mind. Okay. An inquisitive mind means that I'm always searching for the next thing. And from the way I was raised by my late parents, it was always the idea, and what I learned was that the people I respected the most were the intellectuals. Okay. The people who because understood early that the intellectuals were the ones that affected society, that defined narrative, and really a lot of times were the bravest people in the society.
Fantastic. Now, look at the breadth of endeavors. Executive producer for films, TV, and music, creator of television shows and reality formats, executive producer for First Big Brother Niger, Apprentice Africa, Niger Songs, and the Nigerian Idol. Where do you start from and how do you put all this together? How does it come? What kind of inspiration and manner of it?
I think for me, I've been blessed. I've been privileged to be involved in some seminal moments across sports, entertainment, music. Some people, how it is, people trying to put you in silos. So Obi's into music. And I say, well, yes, but we do TV too. We do live too. We do conferences. We do experience. I did it more from intuition than I went to school to study it. I wasn't somebody that went and did a marketing communication degree or did an experience degree. I just started producing events. Probably when I was a teenager, because I always wanted to be involved, and I found out the best way to be involved was to create the experience that I was looking for. So whether I was promoting clubs or parties, I was never just on the edge. I'd either be the DJ or the show promoter. So I think from day one I was a promoter, and then being a promoter you begin to learn to devise concepts. And you remember, marketing now with social media is so different, but 35 years ago, marketing might be your ability to cut out captions from a newspaper and stitch together some kind of flyer, having a direct marketing team, being on the streets with a flyer team and all these sort of things. So I think for me it's been sort of learning it on the streets as you go along, and also being blessed, like I said, to have those opportunities to work early in television, early in music, early with sports, which is a big passion point for me. So I've been lucky in the sense that I've been able to take my passions and turn them into work.
Fantastic. Yeah. Now, like I promised you listeners, you can get us on WhatsApp number 090921-72973. I take that again, 090921-72973. You can also reach us on Twitter at Classic FM 97.3. Now, when I put this topic forward for the week, I met all manner of people from different demographics, and I asked them, in fact, out of curiosity, they asked me and I asked them, and the the central question was, who is a creative? And I said, just wait for Sunday. Obi Asika, what makes a creative? Who is a creative? A person. I mean, what makes a person fit that definition? A creative.
I actually think every human being is a creative.
Okay.
I think it's within your DNA, and it's really the expression of your own expression outwardly, whether it's visual expression, whether you're writing, whether you're stitching. People who make things, people who create things, who affect space, they're all creative, but they have different positions in the value chain.
Okay.
So not everybody is talented as an artist, but they may be talented as an artist manager.
Okay.
They may not be talented as a singer, but they may understand how to pick the right song.
Okay.
Do you understand? So there are different spaces, but everybody, frankly, every human being is creative by definition of being human, because you have will. You're in control of your own will, which means your definition, you're creative.
So it's important that you defined it that way, because a lot of people wait to be told that they are creative.
No.
Because they're not realizing that, listen, you are a creative.
Exactly.
In fact, when you were speaking, what comes to my mind was, say, an architect. He is a creative, isn't it?
100%.
A historian. He's a creative.
100%.
So people should remove that chain, to say, listen, I am a creative.
I think everybody's creative, and also let's not put any ageism into it. You can be 75 and beginning your creative journey.
Wow.
Yes, of course, because it's all about, some people, it takes them a lifetime to find themselves. Some people find themselves on day one. But wherever you find yourself is your ability to express it. That's what determines your creativity, right? And innovation is not necessarily technology either. Innovation is how you rethink or reimagine what process or thing that has been happening around you. So I think these are definitions that sometimes we put them up on the wall, but they're really there to be ripped apart.
Okay.
It's not like some people put culture on the wall.
Yeah.
But culture, you can put it on the wall and be looking at it, or you can rip it apart and reimagine it.
I'm happy you said that, because you said you're 75 and you could just begin to realize that you're creative.
100%.
If you take myself, for example, I've managed multinationals. I've managed businesses, P&L, over billion-dollar businesses. If anybody told me 10 years ago that in 2023 I could be a radio host, I'd be asking myself, are you okay? That time. But I woke up one morning and some guy said, listen, you could do it. We have to benefit from this span of experience and depth of knowledge, So I'm a creative, isn't it?
No, 100%. 100%. And also, you've also worked in the creative industries for years, because you're working in advertising. And you know that a lot of people don't connect that advertising is actually the strongest arm of the creative industry. Almost in every country. If you put advertising and broadcast together, you have the two biggest planks. And if you look at advertising, I think typically the two biggest areas that advertisers tend to spend their money on are football and music, which of course are big platforms in marketing, communication, and in the creative industries.
So listeners, today we are discussing the creative economy. We think and consider the creative economy as the next frontier. So if you're a young person out there, if you're middle age, if you're 75, you are being spoken to today. You have an opportunity. Maybe today's conversation may just awaken that inner frontier in you. So potentials for the creative economy, that's the real kernel of today's conversation. I'm unimpressed, Obi Asika, when people still talk about potential in life. Especially in times when culture and technology are accelerating each other to create wealth for those who know. And I'm talking about the world who know outside of Nigeria. So, but which policy can catalyze Nigeria from being this potential to global power now? We're tired of this word potential.
Like somebody says, you can't eat potential. I think one of the things is that I think we're already gone beyond potential. I think I used to say before that, in the entertainment world, because sometimes people look at creative industries and think it's just the entertainment side. But if you look at the entertainment or show business, as we call it, show business, that, with Nigerian music, certainly, and even with Nollywood and all of the things that come out of here, as you're seeking to globalize, you're looking for validity, right? You need to be valid. And part of that validity is to show. Right, so I feel like in show business, the journey was first of all to convince even Nigerians that what was being done was relevant, that it was needed, that it had to be embedded. now we're at a situation where I think all Nigerian brands, all Nigerian companies, all Nigerian politicians, governments, they have understood that they can't engage Nigerians without coming through Nigerian entertainment and content.
Okay.
You have to touch Nigerian, because that entertainment and content is traveling further than any of them. So no Nigerian, I don't care which Nigerian businessman it is, wherever they arrive in the world, we arrived before them.
Okay.
Our music got there first, our fashion got there first, Nollywood got there first. It got there before Dangote, it got there before Tony, it got there before all of them. So you have to respect us for that, because it is we define who the Nigerian is. 20 years ago, there was conversation was about 419. I don't think people are talking about that today. Not that 419 doesn't exist, but that's not the primary definition. The primary definition of Nigerians today is around that energy that we're pushing out through Afrobeats, through visual arts, through literature, through film, through comedy, through food. So I think these things I just mentioned are the things that are globalizing fast. But part of what needs to happen in terms of, the policy you're talking about, to come back to the policy question. I've been involved in a lot of different policy actions, and one of the things I'm happy about is to see the creation of the ministry. With that ministry, it would also be nice to see, I worked extensively with a chap, the National Startup Act, which is really a whole of government approach, and an approach that also had leaders in the innovation ecosystem. And we worked closely on that process for 2.5 years to get that law passed. One of the fastest things I've seen in this country in terms of that process. Now we're trying to get into implementation, which is always the struggle with government policy. But we did get the law passed. I feel like we have a creative industry development bill which speaks to a commission which creates some of the things you would like to see in terms of driving through. Because what we don't need to regulate creativity. We need to enable.
You don't need to regulate.
No,
you just need to enable.
Yeah, we don't need government to come in and try to be the producer of the film or the producer of the art or think they can make the reality show. No. Government just enable and open up the space for more people to play. And the most important thing that needs to happen of all the policies is for IP to become collateral.
Okay.
Because if we look at the places in the world that are exploding, that have exploded exponentially economically, it is driven by IP.
Okay, we'll talk about IP because it's a big part of today's conversation.
Yeah.
And I'll drive you to that. But let me, by the way, somebody, I think, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, Kane, is saying, I should not forget to remind you or remind listeners that you are equally known as Obode Echina.
That sounds like a family, somebody from the family.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my full name.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's talk finance. This is the challenge. This is a big elephant in the room for the creative. And for talking about the next frontier and taking creativity and the content it produces to the next level, finance is the biggest elephant in the room. Now, there's a double-edged sword now, and the challenge is in between them. How do creatives understand to tap from financial institutions that can fuel their passion? And how do the financial institutions, especially banks, get the creatives to tap from their enormous capacity?
Well, I think to be honest, I think it has been a rough journey for the creatives for the last 40 years.
I'm aware.
Literally zero support. Nollywood made the most noise about this, and Nollywood saw some interventions, but even Nollywood will tell you that those interventions did not necessarily reach Nollywood, because a lot of times the interventions are political, right? They're not systemic, and they're not actually designed with the processes that are going to support producers. So there's an issue in terms of, also there's a bias, right? So the financial sector, to my mind, has been lazy for a very long time. And I sat back and said, oh, you lack structure. We don't know how we're going to collateralize. And I say to myself, okay, so the United States is built on IP. 70% of the United States economy is built on IP. They've been financing IP for 100 years. You take all your stuff from them. Why don't you go and hire a consultant that can teach you how to collateralize IP? Because IP is what drives Silicon Valley. If we look at California, let's not even look at America. California is probably the fourth biggest economy in the world. What is it driven by? Hollywood and Silicon Valley. What are Hollywood and Silicon Valley based on? IP. So if you can't collateralize your IP, if you can't finance an idea, you can't get to exponential growth. And in Nigeria, we have not been financing ideas. We've been actually blocking ideas And and because of that, we have not actually expanded our economy, because our economy is functioning a disconnected economy with disconnected markets. And if you look at if finance people and development people look at that one core issue, it's a bit like the mortgage market.
Okay.
How much repressed capital is sitting in Nigeria that can be deployed?
Okay.
What is the difference? I mean, I say this 100 million times, but I like to put it in the economic terms.
Okay.
What's the difference between Thor and Shango? I'm asking you because you're a marketing man. What's the difference between Thor and Shango? To me, the difference is that people say it's the same thing. I said, no, Thor's approaching $50 billion.
Okay.
Shango's broke in Lagos. Why is Shango broke in Lagos? Because elite dissonance, cognitive dissonance. As Africans affected by colonialism, we've abandoned these things. We haven't been able to reimagine the mythology, to bring it to a frame, in a modern frame, that monetizes. So you look at Western civilization, the entire thing is based on mythology. Greek and Roman mythology with itself is derived from Egyptian. We in Africa seem afraid of our own mythology.
Okay.
We're afraid of our own gods. So what I look at is I look at all of these things and I say the wealth we're looking for, the economy we're looking for, sitting right with us.
Right,
and has always been here. It's always been here. The world has run out of stories. Disney has no new places to go except here. And you know, Mami Water or Little Mermaid, right? Really, Mami Water's older, but we haven't learned how. You know, it's scary. It's scary to me because I grew up in that Africa was the home of storytellers, the griots, the people that preserve history because we didn't write it down. We were telling by generation. But then suddenly African nations do not invest in the story. And then they go to the world, you know, you go to the UNGA, you go to the G20, and you complain about how you're perceived.
Yeah.
But it's not all because of narrative.
Yes, it is.
And who framed the narrative?
It is.
So if we don't invest in our own narrative, should we not stop complaining about how we are perceived?
Yeah.
I mean, that to me seems like a direct... So if I look at my foreign minister, my foreign minister in any African country should be focused on narrative. Yeah. My president should be focused on narrative.
I just wish they understood that, because in everything you do as an entity, you're as good as you are perceived. Yeah. We'll go on a short break. Just quick. We'll come back, and I'll go back to IP, which is intellectual property.
Please.
By the way, I can still see messages from the guy I refer to as Skin. I think the correction is that he's a Kene actually. Okay. But you're still Skin because you have a skin in the game. Because your family is in it.
I don't even know who it is. Yeah. Love to him.
All right, so we'll go on break and we'll come back. Please hang in there.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Now, Obi Asika, please explain this to me and of course to our audience. You know, what makes intellectual property? You know, what is it about the concept of intellectual property?
Well, I think the basic concept is that all humans have the ability to think of a concept, whether it's... So in IP, when I'm looking at it in the context of the innovation industries or the creative economy, you're looking at the original idea. The idea behind the reason why iPhone has version 18, right? It's an 18th iteration of the original concept, right? So you know how it works in tech with the ecosystem play, because they bring you into that ecosystem, whether it's Android, iOS, you know, Microsoft Windows. So those are platform economy approaches and brought you into an ecosystem, but it's all based on IP. All the money is made based on the IP and the licensing and the sub-licensing of that IP. Now, when it comes to us, when it comes to the creative economy, a film is the writing, it's the script that creates the film. That's the IP, right? The merchandise from the film is the sub-licensed IP. So, for example, there was something I saw this morning. Coco Gauff won the US Open last night. I saw something be shared this morning, the T-shirt she won. Don't call me Coco, call me champion. They said it sold out yesterday, $3 million. Wow. $30 million of merch. So, for example, talk about the business of IP in Nigeria today. There are at least a billion, Nigerians have at least 1 billion followers in social media. 1 billion? Yes, easily. If you look across the music people, Nollywood people, sports, athletes, influencers, celebrities, it's at least 1 billion. Some have almost 50, 60 million followers across all platforms because they're that big. Now, by the time you start having that, you're a digital nation, okay? Now, when you think about that, but think about the gap. The biggest gap is that we don't have products and merchandise. Because you have 1 billion people following you. Even if you have 1 million people following you, 100,000 people following you. Principally, if you're creative, even if you're not a creative, either it's a podcast, it's a product, it's a merch, there's something you should be pushing to those people that can monetize, right? And I feel the biggest place in the country to benefit from that, and it's just about discovery and transparency, is ABBA. Because Abba is already making, 10,000 pairs of shoes a week, boxers, all these things. So imagine if Don Jazzy or one of the big Nollywood actresses, none of who have makeup lines, none of whom have hairlines, none of whom have products in the market. And that's what I'm talking about. They don't have product they're able to sell. Who have a problem with digital platforms and fulfillment, and a problem with actually creating the monetization cycle. So it's the same thing with touring for music artists. It's the same thing with touring for comedians, right? It's the same thing with fixing the domestic television ecosystem in Nigeria. All of these things are low-hanging fruits that are within our own control, in our own economy, that can grow our economy exponentially and also employ lots of people, because we're having difficulty creating 9-to-5 jobs in Nigeria. This is a sector that can create millions of jobs because they're fixed-term employment, right? They work gig. They don't work 9 to 5.
Yes. So talking about, now that you're speaking numbers and I'm talking about job creation, so how can how can we use the contribution of the creative industry to rescue the Nigerian economy? So I know you've mentioned it in the course of conversation, but how do we connect it? How do we use this creative industry to rescue Nigeria? Because we need rescue now.
No, I mean it's crazy. I mean,
what are the quick wins?
I mean, for me, the quick wins are around collaboration. Right? Collaboration and convergence, and this is why there's a platform called the Omniverse that we're launching, and it's principally about that, about bringing together people across as many sectors as possible, with the common understanding that innovation and technology have the ability to rocket fuel this economy. If you take the energy and passion that you're seeing in Afrobeats and you apply the intuition and knowledge base in innovation and technology and spread that across all sectors of our economy, we really don't have any problems. Because the minute you have the domestic stimulus, right? Because look at it like this. If we already have 40 stadiums. We already have 600 universities and colleges. Do you understand? What we haven't done is create the connections domestically that turn these things into platforms and marketplaces. So our leather from Kano is being exported to Milan. It's not going to Aba to be made into shoes here and then have added value locally. Same problem with our raw materials in oil and gas and minerals all these years. Actually the same thing with our football talents, and you're seeing it with the Afrobeats talents, because you haven't developed a domestic base. So if you develop the domestic base, the Nigerian economy, to me, is probably, I don't know what you think, I think we're probably operating at 20% of our capacity, if that.
In economics, it's called low capacity utilization, isn't it?
So
it's been calculated. People are projecting at 18.6%.
Yeah, so that's crazy. So if we were operating at even double that, you know what that means in terms of jobs, in terms of opportunities. And I think the most important fix is around education. Innovating education in terms of digital skills, making our people ready for future work. I think business process outsourcing, remote work, the gig economy are critical, and they're critical elements for the creative economy as well. Do you get? So for me, while some people people think it's silos, I think the creative economy and the innovation ecosystem are one. They have to be one. And then from there, you hit everybody else. And the critical one is education and academia, because we have to skill up. We're not producing enough graduates. We're not producing enough skilled people. And it's not about those who are leaving. I think maybe 100,000 people left Nigeria last year. That's irrelevant in a country of this population. It's the skills of the people that are leaving. So that means we're not training enough people, right? So we've got to up the skills. And I think we can use digital platforms to address we should have big ambitions. For me, if Nigeria sets a target of upskilling 10 million people a year, we cannot lose as a country if we do that.
Yeah, and we have to be deliberate.
We have to be deliberate. It has to be 100% intentional. Probably has to be driven by the president and collaboration by all the Nigerian Governors Forum. So 10 million. We're going to train 10 million people a year with digital skills for the next 4 years. That's 14 million people. Those 14 million people, what will they cascade? What will they be generating? Because they'll be able to earn. If they're earning, they're affecting, you know how it is in economics. One person earning affects another 7 or something. So it is about, I think we have to hit that at scale. And whilst the creative economy obviously affects about 16 to 22 sectors, depending on how you look at it, right? You know, it's still, it's enough to drive the wider ecosystem, the wider economy, because there's no real difference. You know, people look at this thing like it's new, but advertising is not new. Broadcast is not new. Television is not new. Radio is not new. Visual art is not new. But maybe what we need to change is the way we approach them, the way we look at them. Look at recreation. I was privileged to lead
the way we define essence, you know.
Exactly. I was privileged. I worked on the National Development Plan, and I'd never been involved at that level. But I led the technical working group, and we were culture, creative industries, hospitality, and tourism. And you know, we did about 16 focus groups with leaders across 16 sectors. I think we ran out of budget to do the rest. But I tell you what, it was the first time any of those sectors were being even assessed within our own budget, within our own economic planning. So you can imagine what the recreation industry is doing, the nightclubs, the bars, the lounges, the hotels. It's incredible.
It's incredible. I'm happy you mentioned education, because a lot of people out there will be struggling to really connect the nexus between education itself and how that education creates job skills and how education can create capacity. So is our educational curriculum as it is today a fit for all these purposes?
No, we have to reform. I mean, that's what's about innovation. So I think that there's a number of things that have to happen. So yes, the educational curriculum as it sits, definitely, I think we all know that we have to look at it, right? I think degrees are great, but I think we also have to look at other forms of education, certificates, digital certificates, 3-month courses, executive education. We just have to spread it and get more people upskilled. From at this point in time, I think vocational skills, TVT, you know, as well as education. So we spread the range of education that you're offering people, and you give them that opportunity, because the key thing is to enable people to work. And I think, you know, because nobody can say, oh, I'm going to create XYZ amount of jobs, because they don't own the business. But you can create the people with the skills who can work for people and work gig work. So I think there are two sides. There's discovery. So once you're trained, how do they find you? The other side is get them trained and they can work anywhere, because no matter where you are in Nigeria, if you're a photographer, you're working. There are certain skills. If you have them, you're going to work every day of the year. You're a photographer. You're a wedding. You're wedding promoter. The wedding economy of Lagos is probably 100 billion naira.
100 billion.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it was 20 billion 10 years ago. So I don't know what it would be today. So, but you know, people are not. It's almost like you're not seeing it. It's right in front of you, but you're not seeing it. But that economy has vendors, entertainers, MCs, bands. That's all they do. They don't do anything else. They make up artists. That's all they do. And those people that I just mentioned are all members of the creative economy, right? From live events, experiential, all those things.
Okay, I have a question here from, I couldn't get the name, but he's saying, okay, Obi Asika, very intelligent and a benefactor. Want to ask what is going on with social media week. Okay, we'll get to that. But how digitally literate are Nigerians?
I think you'll find that Nigerians. The thing about Nigerians is that when Nigerians enter something, Nigerians are so intelligent and so talented that they animate and affect everything they enter.
Okay.
So the big shift for Nigeria in terms of storytelling has been social media.
Okay.
So the advent of Facebook and YouTube, maybe 15 years ago, re-unlocks that aspect of things. So, but in terms of digital literacy, I would say, you know, I'm not sure the statistics, but definitely the mobile phone is our biggest platform, right? So we're a mobile-first economy. People are very skilled at what they do on their phones, from sketches to whatever. But in terms of digital skills, I'll give you an example. there are a lot of things that are intuition driven.
Okay.
Which a lot of the players working in this space are doing. And they still need a little bit of finishing and honing to really progress to professional level.
Oh, okay.
You understand? So I would say that a lot of people are dealing with intuition, but don't necessarily have the finished training to say that they are expert.
Okay, I get that. So maybe I should move to soft power. Please take us through the link between soft power and our education and how our creative manifestation has benefited from that.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
I think our soft power is our biggest foreign policy tool at this time. I think we have more leverage through it than we have through our military power.
Really?
Yeah, at this point in time. I don't think anybody is flexing military power in Africa, particularly. I mean, yes, you see all the regional issues, but in reality, Afrobeats and Nollywood, who, I always say this, those are the first two startup industries in Nigeria in the sense of which startup is discussed, right, with the Nigerian startup ecosystem being the third one. And these things, like my good friend Kenny Ogumbe would say, physically carry this thing around the world, from market to market, from corner shop to corner shop, pushing that agenda of here's the music, here's the Nollywood film, right? And from there, they found there was a need and there was an audience that was really, really focused on seeing this thing. Now, some people might be taking it for granted, but it was not always cool to be Nigerian. It wasn't always cool to be Nigerian. It wasn't always, Nigerian music wasn't always the thing. Even here in Nigeria, you are being insulted for supporting creatives. You Obi, what are you wasting your time for? It's a normal thing because a lot of us are insecure with ourselves and a lot of us are also fighting ourselves. So, if you're fighting your country every day, it's hard for you to wake up and celebrate it sometimes, right? So, the thing about it is that it's like that's almost how we came up with the whole Niger thing at the time, because we knew that people were ambivalent to an extent about Nigeria. But if you try to insult Niger, they will fight you.
They own that one.
Yeah. So we say, okay, Niger will die. Niger till I die. Do you understand? And now it took hold because it was authentic. It was coming from somewhere that everybody could connect to. And I think that is the fundamental thing, is that Nigerians are unique. They do have, I mean, like as something a friend of mine says, we come with multitudes. Nigerians never come alone, right? They come with multitudes, and those multitudes involve a lot of things. It's a lot of passion, a lot of heritage, a lot of culture. Some call it arrogance, I just call it confidence, right? So all of these things are mixed up in what makes up the Nigerian. And anywhere in the world where you see black people, I can tell you the Nigerian from 200 yards away.
Yeah, you could say that. Straight away.
You know what I'm saying? You know the one with attitude is the Niger guy or Niger woman.
And some definite swagger.
Exactly. That DNA, that swagger that they talk about is in the DNA. I tell them, I said, come to Onitsha when we're taking Ozo title. You will know that swagger is not a new word. It's been there for at least
since forever,
500 years plus.
So I'm happy you hit that. But who is investing in our stories? Who is storytelling at the heart of all this conversation?
It's at the heart of it, and the most painful thing to me is that the Nigerians are not investing. Beyond the storytellers at the base level who are struggling to tell the stories, all the biggest investors are non-Nigerian. And the biggest investor in our stories for 25 years have been South Africans, with Africa Magic, by far the biggest investor. And they created the platform that globalized the content through Africa Magic. From 2005-06, when you began to see whether it's Genevieve or Rita Dominic or RMD, and they do a whole month, an RMD month, and it's going to 54 countries. And you get to these countries, and there's billboards of our guys. So I remember Genevieve going to Liberia, and they declared a national holiday. Aki and Popo, probably till now, still cannot go anywhere in Africa without them declaring some kind of holiday. So these guys became the first wave out of here. The second wave is our guys, P Square, the bands, all of that. And then now it's at a whole different level. Now we're global. It's like when we say we started in Alaba or in Idumota or in Malu Road in Apapa 30 years ago. Today, we're in the O2, we're in the stadium, we're everywhere. And it's a beautiful thing to see happen, especially because the inspiration it gives the next generation. Because if you're a kid born since 2010, you would think this is normal if you're Nigerian. If you're a Nigerian kid. Whereas anybody who grew up earlier, you knew that you didn't even think this was possible. So I think it shows the limit. There's no limit, and it gives that inspiration to the younger guys.
Fantastic. Now, listeners, you can reach us on 090-921-72973. There's a message here. This guy is complaining bitterly. He's saying that Nigerians sacrifice their appetite for foreign music to patronize our indigenous musicians, but unfortunately, they are not ready to sacrifice their own taste for foreign fashion and designer, blah, blah, blah. He's saying, in fact, they are not taking Nigeria along with them. Do you agree with that?
I don't agree with that at all. I think, first of all, the fashion industry is probably the biggest segment of our creative industries.
Okay.
And almost every single Nigerian is a fashion designer.
Yeah.
So, you know, back in the day, they used to pick up the City People magazine. City People used to do these sort of almanac things like once a quarter, and every woman in Nigeria can buy one.
Okay.
And every outfit is in that thing. Now they do it from Instagram. So the lady takes the thing she likes from Instagram, sends it to her tailor. Make that for me. And of course, depending how good the tailor is, depends how happy she is with the output. But what it is that I don't think so. I think Nigerian designers are incredible. There's a lot of them. What we don't have is the retail distribution network.
Okay.
In terms of shops and outlets and wholesale. So he's right in the sense that, and I feel like you'll also see that, yes, the artists, look, you're going to do a deal with LVMH or Gucci because they're paying, right? You also do the deal with the local guys because you like them, not because they're paying. But there is a difference. It's a business.
There's some balancing act there to do.
Yeah, there's a balancing act to do. It's a business. But when you look at certain people, like look at TJ Amore, his videos, these are so stylized. The cinematography is so beautiful. You look at Ashake, he's so stylized. Burna Boy, the world of fashion, they're in the world of fashion already. Yes, they do music, but they're actually in the world of fashion. So it's up to the designers here to also build relationships. What you do as designers is music and fashion go together. So when the artist is building, when he's not known, when he's not Burna Boy that the world knows, that's when the designers need to be riding alongside with them. Because when he is blown, he's been riding with the people he was blown with. Burna Boy is blessed because his sister is also a creative designer.
Okay,
Yes.
Look, thank you for clarifying that, especially. It must have been a big concern for people in the fashion world.
Fashion is huge. Fashion is huge. I don't think the fashion people should have any complexes at all. The issues they have are the same issues everybody else has. Fulfillment, logistics, retail.
So, but I'm sure equally they'll be eager to know what the role of technology in all of this.
Well, definitely. I mean, for fashion, technology is massive. So fashion brands, you know, who literally could not do a reveal or a pitch or a show, now you've got Instagram, now you've got TikTok, now you've got YouTube. So Instagram is massive for fashion. As e-commerce, not even just e-commerce side alone, Instagram as itself is doing billions of dollars of fashion-related transactions on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, not daily. And I think there are already some very successful Nigerians in that space. What it is, it's really about, I mean, look, there's a Nigerian lady, I can't remember, I don't want to say her name right now, but she was working with Kanye West as his creative designer. And, you know, she does her own bags. I think she put out a bag collection. I think the bags were £1,000. They sold out 1,000 in like an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's about your power and your capacity. Those who are looking for your product, they are there. But you know, like anything else, whether it's fashion or music or TV, you have to build your audience. So here, it is for people to begin to understand that in the next 5-10 years, we will begin to get designers, I believe, who will be looking like an Armani, like a Gucci, and beginning to generate those kind of revenues because they're getting into the right stores worldwide, and also getting, because this market here, today it's an $8 billion fashion market. But if I ask you the top 10 Nigerian designers, you will struggle to say that.
Fantastic. So now there's something they call the offline market.
Yes.
Please, can you illuminate what exactly is, you know, what and where can I find them? Where do we find this?
Well, the offline
market.
The offline markets to me is like, if you look at Nigeria, right, and we're all Nigerian, and if I leave here right now and I go to Obalande, it's an offline market.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, Computer Village is offline.
Okay.
Idumota, Alaba, Onitsha markets, they're all offline.
Okay.
So those markets are probably doing $30 to $50 billion a year in this country.
Wow.
And they're offline. You can't find them on your phone. You can't find a shop. You can't buy a thing. So for you to buy something from there, it's because you know somebody that's working there that called you, and you're calling him on the phone, and I want that thing, and he'll send you the picture on your phone. But not that you can find his shop, right? So that offline market, that offline economy is going to be brought online. and we need to be intentional about doing it ourselves, because Alibaba is coming to Nigeria, Amazon is coming to Nigeria. They're going to bring our whole country online, right? If we don't bring our own markets
Somebody
online,
will do it for us.
well, they might kill them. Because because it's efficiency, right? Human beings are very simple. Convenience wins every time. So if you don't have to go to an HR market and you can have it on your phone pocket, you will deal with the one in your phone. So I think we have to be intentional. We have to create experiences that work for ourselves, and in just doing that, the mathematics say that when you bring things like that online, you scale them by 4 to 10%. By 4 to X4, X10. If you go from 30 billion X4, it's 120 billion. If you go X10, it's 400 billion. Do you understand? And I'm saying to myself, what's wrong with that? That's what Nigeria needs. If we can connect our markets that are disconnected, create internal flows, that's the AFTCA dream, right? But the thing about AFTCA is Nigeria's big enough. Just Nigeria. Just sort out Nigeria. Move from your 18% under productivity to 60%, 70%. Nigeria is a top 6 global economy.
We have to move away from this potential thing. I mean,
exactly.
This is the best kept secret in Nigeria, isn't it?
Of course. Look, Nigeria has more cultural festivals than any country in the world. I'm yet to see any country that has as many as we do. And it's authentic. Yeah. That's authentic experience. We're sitting right here, people like Gabon.
So there's our own Notting Hill.
Well, Calabar Carnival is an incredible thing, but guess what? It needs to be sustained, right? It's gone for 20 years or so, but probably had a dip over the last 8 years. They need to bring it back stronger. But in Nigeria, you're talking about Calabar Carnival. The Ofala and Onitsha is actually basically the Trinidad Carnival is the same thing, right? Because it's our people dislocated, right? And replicate. It's like in Brazil, the Brazilians are more connected to the Orisha than the Yoruba people here in Lagos, right? I have friends, anybody who's into music knows Biggie Smalls, the notorious B.I.G. His manager, who's a friend of mine, was here earlier this year. Where was he here to do? He went to the Sacred Grove at Oshun to cleanse himself. But, we wouldn't even think of it, but he's here doing it. He's a multi-millionaire. And I think we have to be open to ourselves.
We have to be open, more open, and believe, and
believe that we have value. I think
it starts with belief.
It starts with believing in our own intrinsic value and our own cultural assets, cultural identity, and then the stories. You said it's about the stories. I believe that Disney and Hollywood, they've run out of stories. They've been mining stories from Asia and China for the last 20 years.
It's all exhausted now.
So
to get it here. Now, there's a by the way, I have a lot of questions here, but I cannot, if I accommodate them, then there won't be a show. But there's one from Afam Wokedi, and he's saying, what steps are being taken to sensitize creators of their IP rights and infractions in the creative space in Nigeria, especially issues bordering on offline infractions?
Well, I think in terms of that, to be fair to the Nigerian Copyright Commission, who just got the copyright bill passed after many years of work, I have to congratulate them on that. So in terms of practitioners, I think most practitioners have to educate themselves. If you're a writer, you need to know yourself, what you need to do to protect yourself. But certainly you can engage. There's some of the guilds and also the Copyright Commission in terms of how these things can be protected. In terms of the big problem in Nigeria is always about enforcement, because the regulator does not have the capacity in terms of budget and in terms of manpower to enforce everything. And that's one of the things that killed physical products in Nigeria in terms of music and VCDs. We all remember when you see a VCD with 16 Hollywood films before they even came out in the cinema. So there's no way the major studio who made those films is going to come and invest in your market if you can't see income from your market. So, but at the same time, the only people investing in our content is Netflix, Amazon, Disney, and MultiChoice. I can't point you to beyond Iroko and a couple of others, Afro Evo with the YouTube side aggregation. There's very few Nigerian, there are 400 Nigerian TV stations, and I can't count 4 that are making significant investments in Nigerian content and stories.
Can you imagine? There's another question to Obi Asika. Is it interesting you were part of the development plan some time ago where you made significant inputs in the creative idea? What is your assessment of how that has been implemented in government, and is government really focusing and today realize there are action need to be taken?
Well, I don't know which one of the plans. I mean, the problem with this thing is, I mean, for people like us, it's a continuum, right? Yeah. I feel like I'm one of these people that I feel like it's easy to point fingers and complain from outside, but if you're involved and you understand what's going on, then you stay engaged. Yeah. Because as you stay engaged, you get little wins. So a big win for the sector is the creation of a ministry that has now brought this thing more to the mainstream. What I'm really about is that for the president, for the country, we should always put our best foot forward. And our best foot is our stories.
It's our story,
It's our culture.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's our fashion. That's it.
Yeah, thank you. Let's hope that the government will tap into all these huge reserves, just like said by Dele through his message. But tell me, I won't let you go. If tell me more about this Omniserve platform.
The Omniverse.
It's of big interest to me.
Yeah, please. I mean, definitely. The Omniverse is about collaboration, and we partner with something called ISN Hubs. ISN Hubs Innovation Support Network, which is a private network of 158 at the moment and growing innovation hubs in Nigeria. Okay. And those innovation hubs are accelerators, combinators, co-working spaces, and creative hubs. And we partnered with them in GIZ, and we're launching this platform. Okay. And we'll launch with a big summit, which kicks off next year. At the end of February. We have about 20 co-chairs on our advisory board across all sectors and another 10 or 15 people. And really, it's a platform, like I said, driven by the concept that the creative economy, the innovation sector, startup sector, and academia as the base sort of partners than all other sectors that are enabled and affected by technology coming together for economic development and collaboration, because what we feel is that operating in silos is not helping us. Okay. If we can collaborate and converge around some certain principles, we can get to collective action which can benefit everybody. And those benefits are around jobs, around skills, around projects. I mean, one of the projects that's really important to me is something that we're trying to launch called Origins. Origins is about Black identity.
Origins.
Yeah. Okay. History, culture, identity. Some people think innovation started in Africa in 2010. I think it started from the age of Nok, from the pyramids, from Ifa, from Afa, that I think that we have lost a lot of our own understanding of our own selves, and because we don't tap into it, we can't benefit from it. So I really feel like if we can tap into our original selves in the modern context, right, by reimagining everything and bringing it back to life in Web 3.0, right? AI. We're sitting here today. There's literally no language modeling of African languages in AI. This is a big problem.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, it's a big problem. And going forward, I mean, I've seen some things around AI and identity where they can't recognize black faces. These are big problems for us, and we have the ones that have to solve it. We can't be waiting for somebody else to solve it. It's not their issue. It's our own issue. Okay. And that's it.
Yeah, so as we're winding down, of course, you give us, as customary on this program, you give us your African proverb, and then we take a choice of your music for this Sunday. So, but you're convinced that we can really build that $100 billion digital economy driven by creativity?
Look, the truth of the matter is that it's going to happen with or without government. That's the simple truth. Now, it's just a function of when we get there. Do we get there 2030 or do we get there 2035? It's happening because the average age of the country is 19. The skill set is here. The talent is here. The biggest asset Nigeria has is Nigerians. People still keep thinking it's lithium, is the mineral resources, oil and gas. None of those things are as powerful or have as much opportunity as the expression of Nigerians. So business process outsourcing alone, I think, can be $100 billion economy for Nigeria.
Fantastic.
And that in itself is a subset of these industries, right? So the education and academia can generate all kinds of things for this country. The creative economy is fully developed. I believe that there are more hotel rooms being developed in Nigeria than anywhere else on the continent, even with our challenges. So if we have the most hotel rooms and we're challenged as we are now, imagine what happens when we unlock ourselves, right? So Nigeria, to me, is still the biggest opportunity. That's why I tell people that I love the globalization of the music. But, what's going to be really sweet is when I can see Burna Boy in Port Harcourt at the same level I can see him in London.
In London, yeah.
that's the moment you're looking for, because that moment means more.
Moment of truth.
It means more to him. It means more to all the people, because those people that every time he's on stage, these guys are on stage worldwide, they take us with them. That's what it is. Nigeria's on stage. Nigeria's on show.
Fantastic.
And we need to understand that and key into it. And I hope that we do.
Yeah, I hope so too, Obi Asika. Thank you very much for coming today. Time flies. In fact, a lot of the messages I'm saying is to extract from you a promise that there'll be a 2.0. So before the end of the year, we'll do that.
I look forward to it.
Yes, so we'll do that. Obi Asika, are you ready with your African proverb?
Let me get one. I have a good one for you, but I just want to make sure I get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, go ahead, please. Okay, how do we translate that? Yeah.
You can translate it for them.
It is what you believe that eventually comes out as your reality, isn't it?
Exactly.
So you have to believe, and what you believe in becomes your reality.
100%.
So your song for the week, Obi Asika, and thank you very much for coming. We'll do that 2.0 down the line.
Styly, Jimmy Ja.
Yeah, thank you.
Ella Joe, who's going to be listening.
Fantastic. So hello out there, please.
And Mode 9. my guys.
We're going to, next week will be the top women in business. How do women lead in business? So we're going to bring you a beautiful guest, a resourceful woman, and we make it big like we've made it today. We thank Obi Asika for his time, and thank you too for listening. Have a damn good week ahead of you. Bye.
And that's it on The Discourse with Dr. Ken.